So at this time in my life, you are what you eat has never meant more to me than it has now. And I kind of wanted to break it down in such a simple way that helped me understand for you guys. So let's talk nutrition and prana, shall we? Let's go. Okay, so I've been watching a lot of Dr. Robert Morse, ND. He's a naturopath and huge supporter of the fruitarianism movement, which I've spent the last year of my life learning about or trying to implement. And it's been, for the most part, really a good experience. I haven't actually had as hard of a time as I thought I would. Through the process, I've learned that giving up meat was like the easiest thing I've ever done, even though I'm from the north and we love to grill and steaks and burgers and, I mean, brats, like, oh, yum, I love that food. However, when I learned about prana and consciousness of food and stuff like that, which is what I want to talk about, it really made me think twice about, like, why was I craving that food? I don't know, I'll get into that. But it's really interesting because I cut meat and then I cut a lot of things like soda and candy on my way to cutting sugar, because sugar is probably the hardest one for me. Also trying to cut flour and dairy, just as I'm learning what these foods really are and what they truly do to your body. And if you want to check out some really good information about nutrition, check out Dr. Robert Morse, ND, on YouTube here. He's really fascinating. He breaks stuff down so simply, and there's other people who I've used and who I've learned from as well. It's just he was really the staple of making me focus on nutrition and really teaching me what food was and how, you know, 3/4 of the liquid in our body is lymph fluid and the other quarter is blood, and we don't know much about lymph and we don't study that and we don't take any nutrition courses in school. Doctors here in the Western world, I found out, study nutrition like very minimally. Look into that, it's creepy. And it's becoming more this, you get 10 minutes with a doctor, so you're prescribed a medication to feed big pharma's control over this nation. Like, I mean, when you really step back, you can see the picture for what it is, and you can see that they're sabotaging nutrition, the study of it, and getting it, being able to, walk down the street to a local grocery store that carries fresh produce. That's becoming harder and harder. There's actually this thing called urban food deserts, which I just learned that term from Ron Finley, who's this incredible guy working in California in these areas of low income, or whether it's people of color, trying to get them to understand nutrition and plant gardens in urban areas, because the food deserts, urban food deserts, are just caused by the only thing that's around is processed McDonald's fast food, like grocery stores that don't carry any produce, stuff like that. And that's a really big deal because they're in these heavily populated low income areas, and they're preying on people who don't have income, and this is something we need to be aware of. But all of that to say, I learned this thing about basically prana and food, energy, and vibrations and consciousness. And it's all just this mechanism for how you feed and repair your body, and it's really interesting. I've been learning stuff like your body doesn't even handle protein, it has to break it down into sugar, and the best sugar for you is fructose, which comes from fruit. Any other kind of sugar, it just isn't the natural sugar you're supposed to be absorbing. None of this to say you can't handle stuff like that. Your body's super resilient. Of course you can handle GMOs and chemicals and plastics. You're going to be able to handle that for a while, but then don't be surprised when we become a nation riddled with diabetes, heart disease, cancers of all sorts. I mean, this is coming from somewhere, and we head towards the future thinking, oh, there's probably going to be new disease because it's the future, when really we should be maintaining disease. Like, disease is fake, and it's just this system to keep us controlled. It's so crazy. But this really cool thing I'm learning about food consciousness and prana is that prana is like this life force, this life-giving energy. Everything has prana. Prana is everywhere, right? And your body's full of it. And so when you ingest food, you're eating the prana from that food. Well, food can be broken down into like 5 categories. Well, maybe a better term would be nourishment, because food, as I'm going to tell you, might not be required, but we'll get into that. But there's like 5, I'd say, different categories, or what I've learned so far. Maybe more, maybe they need to be condensed. We'll get into that. But the very base of any diet you could have as a human being would be a carnivore, where you eat meat. You're a sole meat eater, and that lifestyle is completely possible, especially here in America. We make it super convenient, and it's pretty cheap. However, if you live on that diet of a carnivore, if you look into the wild carnivoric animals, they're base chakra. They're stuck on root chakra. Everything is about survival and feeding, and you can't move up consciousness. And what I'm talking about moving up consciousness is raising your enlightenment up the kundalini, and you're moving from chakra to chakra, and that's what life is. You're opening chakras and learning and taking in new information and energy. So when you're stuck at the base, which is like the root and the sacral chakras, it's all about survival and fear. And that's what you're going to stay in if you're eating that diet. The next one up would be omnivore. Now that's where you're eating both meat and plant. So it's kind of giving you more of a balance. It's much healthier than just being a carnivore. Omnivores are creatures like bears and dogs, and they're a little bit more higher consciousness than, you'd say a lion or a cheetah. But when you're moving up, it's all about understanding that taking life in order to feed yourself isn't necessary. But you're going to understand that more as we move up. So the next one's herbivore. That's where you're just eating plant life. And obviously benefits of that are you're leaving sentient beings alone. You're letting animals live, and you're not sacrificing them for your nourishment. So you're eating plant life. And herbivores, salads, gardens, like that's where a lot of vegetarians hang out in the herbivore lifestyle. And that's really good. It's stuff like rabbits and deer, more docile animals, more creatures that humans interact with better, Not to say that we don't interact well with dogs and wild animals who are omnivores, but it's all intertwined. You have to understand, when you look at consciousness of animals, you're looking at what do they do? What's their daily life consist of? And we're just an animal here on this earth. We're just the same exact thing. So when you think about it, you are what you eat. This makes a little bit more sense, right? You're the consciousness that you're taking in. So we've covered those 3. The next one up is fruitarian. Now this one's really, really cool, and this is the one that I've been studying the most within this last year. It's where you're just ingesting fruits, and fruit are a really high vibration food because they're really high off the ground. The higher you go off the ground, the more energy and vibration and prana that item will have in nourishment. And the higher up you go, the better the vibration and prana and life-giving energy. And animals that live on fruitarian diets are like our closest related, the monkey or the chimp. And it's interesting when you start to think about that. They have a mono-fruitarian diet. They mainly survive on bananas. And there's different species that do different things. However, for the most part, the chimp surviving on bananas is really telling, because these are creatures that grow to be such dominating animals, and they're so strong, and they're living on bananas and the protein that breaks down into fructose sugar that your body can really use on a high energy banana based diet. It's insane. When you start to look into animals that just live on fruit, they're really strong, they're really intelligent, and it makes you wonder, was man supposed to be just a mono-fruitarian species? Because when you think about it, we thrive in the tropics, closest to equator. Maybe we're not supposed to be everywhere. When we go everywhere, we kill off species and life that's living there, whether it be animal or plant. Because even though, of course, it is better to be an herbivore and to be a fruitarian, what's weird is you learn that you're still taking life. You're taking prana. When a banana plant grows, or when strawberries grow, they don't grow with a purpose to feed you. They grow with the purpose to take in all the information from the sunlight that they can, to take in the nourishment of the water in the soil. Their job isn't to feed you nourishment. Their job is to thrive. and to create. And now they do create through passing their consciousness onto you when you eat them, but it's interesting when you start to think that something is dying in order for you to maintain life, and also something has to sacrifice its life in order for you to gain intelligence and nourishment and the will to survive. So it's just really interesting when you break things down like that, because the top tier, which is a really questionable lifestyle, but nevertheless it is one, is breatharianism. And this means you do not take life from anything. You solely get your prana through the air. You learn how to breathe through yoga and meditation, and take in the nourishment of the air, because air does have elements that we need to survive. It has carbon, it has oxygen. When these things are broken down into, that's your carbs, that's your sugars, like that. It's mind-blowing. I understand, and I understand that I come off crazy just for giving this message, but understand that I've heard it from other people, and it is resonating with me. And my boyfriend and I have been on this fruitarian lifestyle. Now granted, we do it like 80-20, so we allow ourselves a little bit of cheats. We do consider salads cheating. I know we sound super hippie and super weird, but when you get into this lifestyle, you really start to understand it. Your food tastes completely different. I haven't had fast food in over a year. I want to say more than that. I can't imagine eating it again. I can't imagine ordering. First of all, I think eating meat has changed for me entirely. I don't even think about it as just like the taste and the I don't want that nasty flesh carcass laying in my stomach. Find out that doesn't get eroded via the stomach acid. It actually just passes through. It's so gross. Like when you eat meat, it's, in my opinion, it is so gross. And this is coming from somebody who was an avid meat eater, and I understand that lobbyists in this country make it almost impossible for you to be someone of notoriety and say statements like this, which is so crazy. Look at Oprah in the 90s. It's insane. Like, we're allowing people with this power, because they have money, to allow us, all on earth, the understanding of what is right and what is wrong. We're being told to live this diet that's completely inverted. Basically, what you're being told to eat is exactly opposite of what you should eat. When you eat dairy, that is cancer rocket fuel. Like, it's just science. Look it up. It's crazy. And, they just throw people on this medication. They throw people on chemotherapy. That makes me so sad. And then you find out naturopaths are being jailed or threatened or killed when they're, championing that they've cured cancer. They've cured these terminal diseases that Western doctors refuse to acknowledge that there are cures for, because they're in the pocketbooks of Big Pharma. This is all real stuff. Breatharianism is a lifestyle that many lead here in Earth. Like, it's crazy that we don't talk about it, but look into it. I mean, breatharianism is this brilliant idea. I do not have the conviction or the strength to do it myself right now at this time. That's the belief I'm in. I understand that people would say, hey, just convince yourself you can, and you will. I get that lifestyle, but for me, fruitarianism is the beast I want to tackle right now. I'm having so much fun doing it. I enjoy what it's done for my health. It's helped me understand that life is about so much more. It's not about me fulfilling every impulse, every urge by buying the next thing, or investing my time or my money or my efforts in every little thing, every trivial, minute detail that pop culture or my friends or my family want me to ingest. It's about much more. It's about understanding that you are in control of the exterior when you take control of your interior, and that is just through breathing and mindful meditation. And this stuff is real, and it's so real, and it's just diluted down and made to sound so crazy to you because they don't want you to get it. And it's so interesting. Living life right now, I am at such a weird part of my life. This is so interesting. I cannot believe I'm making this video about fruitarianism and consciousness and prana and vibrations and food for you to ingest. Literally 2 years ago, I was the sassy girl walking down the street, like, buying a ton of shit because I lived a gay lifestyle that was led by, like, pop culture and Britney Spears and Kim Kardashian, and it was just, I just feel so different about life, and I don't know how to explain it to anybody. And you, my YouTube followers, thank you for going on this journey with me, because I'm sure you are experiencing just as crazy of a roller coaster ride as I am. I just wanted to put mine out there because it is nutty, the stuff I'm learning. But ingest this information. Let me know what you think. Do you think I just sound cuckoo bananas for, buying into food consciousness and vibration and prana? Or do you completely understand, agree, and maybe you know way more? Because this is the beginning of my journey, people. I am in for a ride. I am never one to say I am the end-all be-all with knowledge. So continue learning, invest your time into this subject for just a little bit. I promise you, you will be fascinated. So take care of yourself. Enjoy this week. We are just beginning. Happy Monday. I love you. Peace.